What's up everybody, my name's Will from Ghosthack, and today I'm going to be taking you through Ghosthack's latest package, Riddim Essentials Volume 2. Now, not too far in the past, we had Ghosthack released our first Riddim sample pack, and it was Riddim Essentials, just Volume 1, right? And we got a lot of good feedback from that, so we decided to make Volume 2, but we didn't just make another version with all new sounds, we made it twice as big. Everything is doubled. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through everything that is included within this pack, and I'm going to show you how I created about half of the demo track. If you'd like to listen to the full demo track, you can find it right here. If you're watching on YouTube, then that will be the link in the description. If you're watching from this page right here, then you should just have to scroll up or down and find it. So let's take a look and see what we have to work with this pack. I'm just going to start with the one shots here. We right out of the bat have 40 kicks. These are really heavy kicks that are good for Riddim. Some of them are heavier and harder almost for any kind of dubstep that are super punchy, and some of them are tighter and a little deeper for more classic styles of Riddim. Next up, we have some melodic hits, and these actually go with the melodies that I'm going to go over in a minute, but you can hear the different hits. Like that, and you'll see how those connect to the melodies later. And then next up, we have a lot of sound effects. Some of these sound effects are very interesting. We have, typical ones, sort of like downshifters. And we have impacts. And risers. Those are just kind of the beginnings of those samples. But we also have some very interesting ones, like things like these. We have these sort of loops that are really interesting to add rhythm. We have strange sound effects here. Here's a choir. It's a nice choir hit. We have a siren. So just different interesting things other than the typical sound effects that you'd find in any other pack. Next up, we have some snares and claps. So here are the claps. They're really good for layering over kicks for kind of classic or maybe a little bit lighter rhythm styles. And then we have some snares. And these snares tend to kind of work on their own without having a kick under them. That's kind of important if you don't want to add that other kick. Using a snare could be a very good idea. Then we have the snare claps, which are for heavier rhythm that also includes a kick. But next up, here are some bass hits. We got a lot of cool stuff here. And we have multiple versions of a lot of these right here. So in one part, I might use this sound. And then when I want a variation, I could use this sound. Next up, we have some hats and cymbals. So we have a bunch of closed hi-hats. We have crash cymbals. We have open hi-hats. And then we have ride cymbals, which are very useful. So that's a lot of one shots to work with. Next up, we're going to go to the loops, which we have some drum fills right here. So we got fills of a lot of different styles. Some of them they sound kind of like live drums, like a real drum kit. Some of them are sort of trappy like snares, and some of them are more synthesized drums. Next up, we have 20 full drum loops with the stems separated. So basically, if I find a loop that I like, so let's say I like this one. Well, I have all the stems separated out so I can use this however I want. Like here's the kick. You can see there's a lighter one hitting kind of right under where the snare will hit. And then you have the snare clap. And all of its kind of swooshy layers. And then you have just the top of everything. So you can use those wherever you want in, whatever position. You can chop them up and just make them fit your track. That's the important thing. Next up, bass loops. You're going to hear that one in the demo track. That one is also used in the demo track. So there's a lot of fun stuff to mess around with in this, and a lot of inspiration, especially if you were to take some of these and kind of chop them up and, use them in different spots, throughout your track, and you can create a lot of cool textures and cool rhythms. And then next up, we have some melodic loops. And a lot of these melodies kind of work together in ways that you wouldn't really expect them to. And I can show you what that's like when I go through a bit of the demo track as well. But those are the melodic loops. And then we have MIDIs, a lot of which correspond with the melodic loops. You can see that they're labeled, like D sharp chimes is going to be the same as when you go into the melodic loops, D sharp chimes. So now that we've gone over the pack itself, I just want to play this first part of the demo track, and then I'm going to kind of go through and show you where I used all the things that I did. Sorry to leave you in suspense there, but that is all I'm going to play of that. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this demo track, you can find it on the Ghosthack website. If you're on YouTube, link in the description. But I just want to go through and kind of show you where I use the elements that I'm talking about here. So to start off, we have just the drums that I'm using in the intro. It's just a kick and the hi-hat going on right there. I have some of these rendered out basses that are just going in the background, just to kind of hint at the drop to come. And then I have these sound effects. You can see I have the choir hit that I've pitched up. We have the impact. I have, see a sub drop right here, which also comes with the pack. There's another impact, a clapper, and then we have a downshifter. And then it goes into these risers right here. And there's that kind of liquid downshifter as well. That one's really fun. But after that, here's the police siren that I showed in the pack. It's a very long police siren, and it does have a tone, but you can see here's a little melodic loop that we're using. And that's actually the chimes loop that I played just a second ago. And it's just fading in with this filter. And as you can see, it fades out in this buildup. And then we also have this other loop, Synth Worship. Now these were not made to go together, but these two loops and a lot of other files in the pack actually work together pretty well. And then this Synth Worship kind of, comes up with a high pass. And that's sort of how I built this little intro part. And there's one of the drum fills that you heard right there. And now the next thing that I added was some build-up drums. So I just took a kick that was a little bit lighter. And through that right there, we have a little reverse right into it. And then I took one of the snares, I believe. And then one of the drum loops that I have, I just took a top loop. And I really liked how that worked. And then I took this guy as well. So that's just the hi-hat that was playing in the intro. So the hi-hat kind of glues everything together here. And then you have another drum fill, a couple other drum fills going on right here. You have this guy. And then this. So then everything starts to get faster. And then these like drum loops right here for the buildup actually do come with the pack. They're like a specific drum loop meant for buildups. And then we have these rendered out basses. That are hinting at the drop. Then you have this weird slider thing, which is kind of in the background. It gets automated around. But then you have it here getting a little bit faster. It's hard to hear, it's in the background, but it does add extra rhythm. And then we have one of these little Aquabot sound effects as well as an impact. Those little sound effects are great for fills that need more filling out. If you need more space and more texture in one area, they're just awesome. I love using them. We have this rubber crush riser. It's going up like that, starts out like this. We have the liquid downlifter that I played before. Here's some more impacts and risers. We have the sub drop, a reverse crash cymbal. We have this Game Boy riser. We have this kind of strange plastic riser. Here's some more downshifters. Oh yeah, and here's the frequency for the slider. We have the Siren that keeps on going, and then we have this new loop come in right here. And you can see this kind of blends with the other loops pretty well. It's kind of impressive how well it just accidentally works together. And that just adds a lot of cool tension and texture to the buildup. And now let's get into this drop. I had a lot of fun slicing up bass loops for this one and also bringing in individual samples. But before we get into the bass loops, I just want to go over, you can see we have the drums here. I have a kick drum hitting right here, which is one of the kicks from one of the stems. And then I have these claps hitting as well, which are some nice big heavy claps. And then I have this top loop right here, which work well with the heavier drums. And then I have a liquid downshifter along with the choir hit. And that's honestly right here all that hits other than the bass, so you can hear what these basses are doing. And now one key in this bass loop is that there are actually 3 sounds hitting at once right here. What you have is specific spots taken from this hit. You can hear that going on right here. And then the next thing you have is this going in the background as like something solid to really fill out the spectrum. And you also have this sound that's included. There's 3 high layers included with these basses. And these are very, very nice for taking a bass sort of loop that plays a consistent rhythm, like that fwop, fwop, fwop that we're hearing right now, and then just layering it over. It adds a lot of texture. And it would sound a lot emptier if that wasn't around. So I just used that little bit in the first half, and then it goes into these sounds. So I just took some basses that I thought would sound cool. I have this sort of gnarly growl. And then you have this, which is another piece of, I believe that's another piece of this Cobra sample right here that we used in the bass loop. And then you have a little digital sample right there. That's just a quick, just a quick hit. I just wanted something quick to fill the space. And you can see I'm kind of chopping up the bass loop a little bit more to create those specific rhythms. And then there's another digital one. And then lo and behold, the next time it goes into the variation of this loop, I told you each of the loops have a variation. So instead of just using this guy right here, you can also use its counterpart. And that worked very well in this situation. And then for variation, I also added a hi-hat playing a more consistent rhythm. That just adds more texture and just a little more energy to that one moment to make it sound different. And then we get to spots like these where I'm adding a little more things. I have this clap impact right there. And then you can hear the police siren coming in, as well as these melodic loops coming in as well. And those add very nice layers because I'm chopping up these basses and drums in kind of unique ways in order to create an interesting kind of rhythm. You can see I have this watery hitting for just a moment, and I have the choir hitting for just a moment, as well as these cymbals hitting for just a moment, just to accentuate those impacts of. And then it goes back into its, normal program. And the melodic elements actually mix very well with this. And with those melodic elements coming in, it leads beautifully into the next section right here, which is just going to be a little breakdown before we go into the second buildup. And I actually didn't change too much here, but I did kind of change a melodic element. I added something else. I got rid of these chords right here. I didn't want them. I wanted this sort of string sound. They're kind of crunchy sounding, but they play a little progression that ended up working very well once again with this chime melody. And you can see the Siren matches up beautifully, but it added an interesting kind of fill here, which is a very nice segue into this buildup, where I'm using this sort of dark 8-bit loop. Sounds kind of broken and glitchy. It sounds like evil too. It sounds very nice. But as you can see, I have these little drum fills. And that just happens right before the main glitch fill. I have these snares that are happening kind of along the rhythm of this glitch. And I took that glitchy sound, which you can find in the one-shot effects right here. Let's see, where is it? Yeah. And I pitched it in place and I chopped it up to use it like this. And again, using interesting sounds like this adds a lot of character and a lot of texture to your song. I highly recommend going through and using sounds such as this, because this is what gives it originality. And as you can hear, the buildup is pretty much the same, except for this, 8-bit loop right here. And then you also have some new basses coming in. And that kind of gets the listener, hyped up for the next drop as well, because it drops pretty hard. And again, if you're on YouTube and you'd like to listen to the rest of these 2 tracks, you can follow the link in the description to the website where you can do it. And keep in mind, pretty much everything here is from the package. I struggle to think of any spot where I used something that was not a part of this package. This is an extremely versatile pack. You can do a lot with it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the track, and I hope you enjoy Riddim Essentials Volume 2. So I will see you in the next video. Happy producing.